Collins, if you now still mean anything to you, then this woman must leave our house. Collins, look at what you did to me. Just look at me. Because of a stranger, a woman we brought into our home when she was stranded. Collins, can't you see what is happening to us? Our relationship is no longer the same. Where is the peace and love we both shared? You have turned me into a housemaid for Mama Njide. I wash her clothes. Insist I prepare pounded yam for her every night. When last have we sat down as a couple to have a heart-to-heart talk? It's always Mama Njide this, Mama Njide that. Collins, I don't know what I did to you. I don't know why you refuse to open your eyes. Can't you see that this woman is evil? That she came to break our home? Sandra continued as tears flowed down her cheeks. Please, Sandra, I promise you that I'm going to do something about this. You have to stop crying. I really regret my actions, and I'm deeply sorry. So after much pleading from Collins, Sandra forgave him. So the next day, Sandra had to call her office to tell them that she would not be resuming for work that day due to the injury she had. So the office gave her some days off so she could get better. Sandra was at home the next day when her phone rang, and it was her friend Wendy. They exchanged pleasantries. So Wendy said to Sandra, "How far now? How are you faring now?" "Well, I'm better," Sandra replied. So Wendy, out of curiosity, asked Sandra, "How far with that old woman?" "I'm still waiting for the gist. Was Collins able to send that old woman back to her daughter's house?" "Well, sis, I don't even know where Collins has been as we speak. Collins left this house with Mama Njide since morning. He did not even bother to tell me where he was going to. Even when I tried to ask him, only said he was returning soon. And it's already past 5 p.m. and they are still not back." As she glanced at the wall clock hanging on the wall of their bedroom, Sandra responded sadly, "This is really serious, so what's all this now, eh? Sandra, I really feel your pain. This is so sad. But I'll still advise that you stay strong, as we can see that Collins is under a spell. You remember I promised you that I was going to see our pastor on your behalf. After I narrated everything that has happened in your home for these past months, after prayers, he confirmed to me Mama Njide is indeed a witch, but that I should tell you to be strong in prayers, that evil will surely not prevail in your family. Also that God never comes late, even though it seems in this situation that everything is falling apart in your home. He advised that you should continue to stand in the gap for your family. So Sandra, here with you, my husband and I are also praying for your family. I'm assuring you that God will indeed fight for you." Sandra just listened as tears welled up her eyes. She did not believe how she was the one that brought in an ant-infested firewood into her home. Now see the mess marriage have become. However, as they were still speaking, Sandra heard the hooting of Collins' car, which meant that Collins was back. "So we will talk later," she said hurriedly to Wendy. "I think Collins is back," Sandra said as she quickly ended the call. So Sandra walked to the living room, greeted Collins, and kindly asked him how his day went. Collins only responded with a nod as he walked into his bedroom to shower and have a change of clothes. Later on that evening, Sandra served him his dinner. Before they retired for the night, Collins said to Sandra, "Mama Njide did not come home with me because one of her daughters returned from the US, so we had to go and welcome her at the airport," Collins said hesitantly as he glanced at Sandra, avoiding her eyes. Sandra shook her head in disapproval and disappointment. "Collins, I thought you said you are going to do something about Mama Njide's continuous stay in our house. So what's this about going to Mama Njide to the airport to welcome her daughter who just returned from the US? How does that concern us?" Sandra breathed deeply after a few seconds of silence. "Okay, Collins, why don't we use this opportunity to pack Mama Njide's belongings, move them to her daughter's house? You know this cannot wait anymore. Mama Njide have long overstayed her welcome. She have done enough harm," Sandra said desperately. "Well, Sandra, Mama Njide still remains with us. Her daughter only visited Nigeria and will soon return back. Also, remember, her daughter and her husband are still having issues, which both of us are quite aware of," Collins continued. Sandra felt a lump in her throat. She was shocked and could not believe that Collins could be this gullible, even with all that is going on in their marriage. "Well, I just said, let me tell you that I'll be leaving very early in the morning to go and meet Mama Njide and her daughter at the guest house where she lodged," Collins said as he stretched and yawned on the bed. I need to assist them with some errands. Sandra was stunned. She was lost for words. She just looked at Collins with pain and sadness in her heart. She said to Collins, I can see you have decided to dine with the devil. Whatever you get from him, you take. Collins, let me ask you, when last did you visit your office? It's now your manager that runs your business for you while you while away your time going up and down with Mama Njide. Do you know how intricate your business is? You still don't see anything wrong. Only pray it does not become too late before you come back to your senses. I don't even know what Mama Njide gave to you. This Collins, not even listening. Collins, you are breaking my heart. It's so unfair. Sandra cried bitterly. Collins looked at her confused and decided to rest his tired body on the bed. And soon he slept off. Sandra wept through that night, unable to sleep, could not even open her mouth to pray. Her heart was heavy. She was so overwhelmed with all that was happening in her home. However, 2 days later, Sandra resumed work. She met the shock of her life. MD earlier on that morning asked one of her colleagues to call her once she resumed that morning. So when Sandra went to see her MD, he said to her, Madam, how is your health now? He asked in concern. I'm getting better, sir. Sandra responded, forcing a smile. Well, you can have a seat. Let me not take much of your time. Your husband, Collins, came in the company of a woman in her 60s 2 days ago. Your husband was very angry. You know I've met him twice. I was surprised at his outburst. I've known him to be very calm. Could attest that you both have a good relationship as a couple. Your husband came in here saying a lot of bad things about you, Sandra. I have always held you in high esteem. I have always thought that you are a good wife who took the matters of her home serious. Your husband and the woman who came with him complained how you neglect your wifely roles, that you no longer cook for your family, that you are proud and disobedient to him, that you allowed your job to get into your head. That was why you no longer listened to him. Also complained that you no longer tend to your children. Oh God, what's all this now? Sandra exclaimed in surprise. Her heart was pounding fast. She quickly said to her boss, Sir, as she struggled with words, you have known me for the past 10 years now. I am shocked to hear that my husband came here to say all these hurtful things about me. Please, this is not true. Although my family is passing through a lot right now, and I don't even know where to start from. Please, sir. Sandra pleaded with him as she knelt down, tears rolling down her cheeks. Sandra, please get up. You see, I have known you for many years now. I know you to be very responsible and hardworking. You are one of my best and valuable staff, and you have really proved yourself all these years you have worked for me. Your husband is very mean. He wants me to sack you, but I'm not going to do that. I will keep your job for you. All I want you to do is to go home and make peace with your husband. With what we just said, your husband's action shows that your marriage is not healthy. So please, you have to go back to the drawing board. Whatever you can do to get your marriage and relationship with your husband on the right track, please do. And be warned of that woman that came with your husband. She looks very desperate, like she has a lot against you. She said lots of hurtful things about you. So you just have to be careful. Like I said, I'll keep your job for you, but you have to stop coming to work for now. I think that will be all for now. Can now leave. As Sandra walked out of her boss's office, her legs could barely carry her. Her hands were trembling. She only managed to pull herself to her office. As she sat in her office, she quickly put a call to Wendy, who had gone to their branch office in another part of the city. Please, Wendy, you have to be here before I collapse, Sandra said to Wendy as she ended the call. So a few hours later, Wendy returned and met Sandra, eyes red and swollen, her face wet with tears. Sandra just gazed at Wendy without uttering a word. All she did was hand over a letter to Wendy. So Wendy quickly read through the letter and stood up and went and held Sandra's hands. Sandra, my friend, sis, I don't know what to say. I don't even know why bad things happen to good people like you. I have known you to be a good person. You are the best wife and mother to your children. I have always admired your courage and resilience, Sandra said sadly. But Sandra, you have to be strong. You have to be wise. If you fight Collins, you will lose. Thank God our boss was considerate enough. At least, you still have your job. I will only advise that when you get home, you give them the letter so they can celebrate their wins. Don't say anything to them, Sandra. I assure you that God will surely come through for you. Wendy said a lot of things and made sure Sandra got a hold of herself before they left the office. That evening, when Sandra got home, she saw that Collins was not home yet. Mama Njide was coming back that night, so she knew Collins would have gone to bring her home. So Sandra hurriedly collected some of her children's clothes and some of the things they needed on days and drove to her cousin's place where they have been for some weeks now. Before she left her cousin's house, he called her out, quickly briefed her a little about what was happening in her house. Please, Sandra, you look stressed and overwhelmed. Don't you need help from our family? The little you just told me now, I'm worried. This is not Collins that I know. And look at your children. This is affecting them too. I just pray you get things sorted out before school resumes, so your children will not continue to be in that toxic environment. Don't worry, Sharon. All I need is your prayers. Just keep my family and I in your prayers. Getting my family involved in this, I think, is going to escalate everything. As for that witch and Ingrid, she has met her Waterloo. I'm very sure about it. So don't worry, just take care of my kids for me. We would be in touch on the phone. So they hugged and Sandra drove home. However, when Sandra returned home, she met Collins, Mama Njide, a very beautiful woman who was elegantly dressed, looking rich, with this intimidating demeanor. Sandra glanced at her and could see the resemblance. This should be Mama Njide's daughter, who just returned from the States, she thought to herself. So when she came close to them, she hissed, not uttering a word, as she walked past them into her bedroom. So a few moments later, Collins walked into their bedroom, looking sad and angry, his body shaking in anger. He was clenching his fist, as if he wanted to hit Sandra. Collins, if you dare touch me again because of that old fool, I assure you, you are going to regret it. Think I'm going to take that nonsense from you again? Try it again. Sandra thundered. So Collins moved back and held his fist. Sandra, what was that you displayed in the living room? Eh? What was that, Sandra? Okay. I can see you have lost your manners. You couldn't even welcome our guest or even get her something to eat. Collins said angrily. Thank you very much, Collins. As your housemaid now, after serving Mama Njide, I will also come and serve her daughter. So I would be a good woman. You're just wasting your time. I am not moving an inch. Sandra, whose heart was boiling in anger, made up her mind to be calm. A lot of thoughts went through her mind. She reminded herself that the problem here was not Collins, but Mama Njide. So no need bantering words with Collins. Sandra maintained her calm. As Collins talked and talked, Sandra just kept mute. So after some time, Collins, seeing that Sandra was not ready to do as he bidded her, went back to the living room to meet Mama Njide and her daughter. Sandra sat on her bed, thinking of what to do. She was helpless and did not know who to call on the phone. But after some time, she heard the loud laughter of Mama Njide, her daughter, and Collins. She tried to cover her ears, but the laughter was becoming louder. So she quietly walked to the living room when she overheard Mama Njide pleading with Collins. My son, you know, this your wife. She doesn't fit you at all. Just say yes to my daughter's proposal, and I assure you, you are not going to regret it. You know that from the first day I met you, I wanted you as my son-in-law. You are a good man, and you can see for yourself that my daughter likes you. You see this your business. My daughter will take it to another height. All you need is just to say yes to her, who is your wife to my daughter. Can't you see her beauty, level of education and exposure? Mama Njide said proudly. Is her beauty not blinding? Okay, look now. Collins, Sandra almost busted into the living room, but got hold of herself. She felt this deep pain in her heart. She listened to see what Collins would say, but all she heard was Collins' laughter. However, after some time, Mama Njide, her daughter, and Collins left the house that night. Collins did not return home for 3 days and also was not taking his calls as Sandra tried to reach him on the phone. Sister Sandra, we made a very big mistake. We should have confirmed from our pastor from the east to be sure if this said Mama Njide is one of us before you took her into your home. Even though this information got to us this late, but it will still be of great help so we can know who we are really dealing with. See, after the last time you came to see me in my office, months back, regarding the sad events in your home, about Mama Njide's behavior, I called the pastor as I promised, even though it took time for me to get across to him. When I finally got him on the phone, he told me that his phone was bad some time now. That was why I could not reach him on the phone. After some findings, The pastor confirmed to me that Mama Njide was excommunicated from the church years back because she was having sexual affairs with some of the married men in the church, even with some of the leaders who fell for her antics and her seduction. He also confirmed to me that Mama Njide was a homebreaker. She said Mama Njide was good in targeting innocent people through her spiritual eyes. She has been a problem to the church for some years now. So you can see that this is not a physical battle, it's spiritual. I know your husband is under a spell and he's not going to listen to anyone. Sandra just looked at the pastor. Tears welled up her eyes. Sir, please, you just have to help me. My faith is failing me. I cannot believe that this could happen to me. Home was only trying to help. What offense did I commit? Is it now bad to help people? Sandra continued with pain in her voice. No, Sister Sandra, stop crying. This is life. What you did was not wrong. Just like the Bible reminds us that the heart of man is desperately wicked. And who can know it? It's only God that knows man. Mama Njide is evil and wicked. She just took advantage of you and your husband. Don't worry. I'm going home with you today. Let's make call Brother Tio on the phone so he can quickly join us. I assure you that God is going to give us victory. See how God is going to fight your battle. The pastor continued in a strong tone. A few moments later, Sandra and the pastor and Brother Tio were at Sandra's house. Collins was not at home when Sandra came in with the pastor and Brother Tio. They prayed earnestly, and after some time, they decided to leave as it was already getting late in the night. Sandra thanked the pastor and Brother Tio as they left her house. However, Collins came back looking very angry with worry in his eyes. Mama Njide and his daughter walked closely behind as they joined him in the living room. Please, Collins, I'm sorry for what just happened at the prophet's house. I never knew it would get to this. Please, you just have to keep your voice down. Before your wife gets to know what happened, I did this just to help you. Only went there for prayers. You have to understand, my son. As they were still talking, Sandra walked into the living room. She saw the tension in the atmosphere. She knew all was not well with them, so she decided to sit on one of the sofa, looking at Mama Njide and Collins, who was avoiding her eyes. And they continued to argue. Mama Njide, how can you and your daughter be this mean and desperate? You took me to a prophet who asked me to chase my wife away, the mother of my children, without any genuine reason, just that she's going to die in my house. You chase her away. How do you think that is going to be possible? If she wants to die, let her die. I will go and bury her. But not because I'm afraid that she's going to die. Then I will not chase my wife away. Which man in his right senses does that? Mama Njide, let that your prophet very carefully. He should thank his stars that I'm in the right frame of mind. I would have dealt with him. I will now drive my wife away like that. Is it not the Bible that tells us nothing should separate us as a couple except death? Is Mama Njide, your prophet, should go and look for something else to tell me. Collins continued in anger. So as they were still talking, Collins' phone rang. And few seconds later, Collins screamed. His eyes furrowed. His hands trembled. Oh God, I'm finished. Officer, just hold him. Keep him in your custody. That's my manager. I'll meet you at the office tomorrow morning. You can see it's already very late. Thank you very much, sir. Sandra quickly drew close to Collins. She held him. His hands were shaking. Collins, what is it? Who called you? Who is at the police station? What is Gabriel doing at the police station? Sandra asked in concern. Collins, you look terrified. I'm very worried. Please speak to me. Please, Sandra, just leave me. Everything is just falling apart. It's all this. And Mama Njide, I just want you and your daughter out of my house now. Collins thundered as he looked sternly at Mama Njide and her daughter, who were both pleading with him. My son, you are the reason why my daughter returned from the US. How can you reject my daughter? And how dare you disobey me? She fixed her eyes on Collins, who looked remorseful. Okay, it's fine, Mama Njide. You are not leaving. You know, I take you like my mother. And regarding daughter, although as you have said, just give me some time. Collins responded. Sandra, who was praying silently in her mind, sat down quietly on the sofa. As they were still talking, there was a knock at their door. Collins went to get the door. It was their pastor and Brother Tio, who were already praying. The pastor quickly laid hands on Collins, who went and sat still on one of the sofa in the living room, looking lost. Mama Njide looked sternly at the pastor and Brother Tio. The pastor neglected her, continued his prayers. Mama Njide manifested and displayed strangely. He was in a rage. Her daughter, scared, Collins, Sandra, and Mama Njide's daughter all scampered for safety. The pastor continued in fierce prayers with Brother Tio. After some serious prayer, Mama Njide confessed she has been doing, how she has been a witch for many years now. She also confessed how she had been the one behind her daughter's misfortune in her marriage. She confessed lots of atrocities and the damages she has done to many marriages. So that same night, Mama Njide was chased out of Collins' house with her daughter. She left with shame and disgrace. That same night, Collins took her belongings to her daughter's house, the company of the pastor and brother Theo. 3 days later, Sandra and Collins were at the pastor's office. The pastor said to Collins and Sandra, "You both are good people, but you see, as Christians, always remember that this life is spiritual. We shouldn't just rely on our goodness. Remember what the Bible says about being prayerful and watchful. You were not prayerful. When last did people come to church? Only come on Sundays when you want. And before the close of the church service, you have disappeared. You see, your house was very conducive for Mama Njide. Operate, lacked fire in your home. You also lacked discernment. Not, you would not have fallen to the antics of that witch. Mama Njide has dealt with a lot of people, unsuspecting victims, for many years now. A lot of people today, like Mama Njide, they are in the church, they are in the market, they are in many places, they are even in your families. What will make you overcome is only when you are prayerful and have the spirit of discernment. Brother Collins, your wife almost lost her job. If not for the kindness and good heart of her boss, she would have been relieved of her job for nothing. You've told me how you hit her. You don't even know where your kids are. For the past 1 month now, busy running around with Mama Njide. It's true you were under a spell, but I still have to say it. If not for God's mercy and intervention, would have drove your wife away because of that prophecy that fake prophet gave. Now, your manager Gabriel looted your company several millions of naira because you were busy running around for Mama Njide like her houseboy. We still thank God for his mercies, how he has delivered you from Mama Njide's grip. Please, advise that both of you should go home and look at where you failed as partners. Sandra, please, I'll still plead on behalf of your husband. Please forgive him for all the wrongs he has done. I know you have been through a lot these past 8 months, so please forgive your husband. You both should join hands in unity and love. Make your relationship better than before. Thank you so much, sir. Sandra responded, "I'm grateful for your immense prayers and intervention for my family. We really appreciate it so much, sir. Thank you for your time." So before Sandra and Collins left the pastor's office, he prayed for them and advised them to be prayerful and watchful. However, as Sandra and Collins returned home, they made commitments to each other, always listening to each other, never to take any decision without the consent of each other. Peace, love, finally returned to the home of Collins and Sandra. Few days later, Collins went to see Sandra's MD. He thanked him for giving Sandra her job back. Sandra was happy to resume back at her office. Wendy was so happy for her friend Sandra, whose marriage had been restored and also had her job back. Sandra and Collins and their beautiful children lived happily. Thank you so much for watching the concluding part of this story. I really appreciate you all for your immense support. I do not take this love for granted. Please, just like we always do, I would like us to comment the comment section the lessons we have learned from this story. What's your take home from this story? Please, let's share our thoughts in the comment section so we can learn together. Please give this story a thumbs up so it could get to a wider audience. Also subscribe if you have not subscribed. Share this story and my other stories with your loved ones and friends. Until I come to you next time, stay blessed and bye.